think it's a really exciting idea of a game. It's combining so many elements with such a well-known IP.
I'm excited to see what the landscape's going to look like with tons of players running around and all the houses being built.
First couple hours now, it's been great. A lot of exploring, a lot of learning. So far, I love it. It's great. My favorite part about it is that it's just so unique.
My name's Joel Barlos. I'm the Chief Creative Officer at Funcom and the Creative Director on Dune Awakening.
My name is Scott Jr. I am the Executive Producer for Dune Awakening.
I think players have given us a lot of feedback, especially since we've been running a beta for almost a year at this point. I think one of the most important things is just the quality of life that they notice. It really sucks to have to drag every item from your inventory into a chest. Can we have a quick deposit button? And then we've done that, right? Things like that, they really improve the game experience. As a game developer, sometimes you just become blind to these obvious, easy fixes.
The most important feedback we've gotten from our players is really on the onboarding and the accessibility of the game. We want to make sure that Dune Awakening is a approachable game, and while Arrakis is dangerous to be on, we want to make sure that we are focusing on improving the points so that we can get players to the enjoyable elements of the game.
During the playtest now, I've been talking with a lot of people. Generally, it's the world, the atmosphere, the vibe of the game that people really, they really vibe with it. We had a long discussion at dinner last night about the sandworm. I just think people really love that feeling of like being chased by this giant force of nature.
The aspect of the game that we've been really proud about, how Dune the game feels. This is the first time players have been able to live their life on Arrakis. In Dune Awakening, players are walking on Arrakis, they're crash landing. When we upgraded from Unreal 4 to Unreal 5, the advanced lighting and the technology just made the world become so much more immersive. The art team has been able to, using help that we've gotten from Legendary with the assets there, we've created some very interesting desert environments that are different.
Advice for players on Dune? Easy. Rest in black shade, stay out of the sun, conserve your water, and preserve the integrity of your still suit. Look both ways before you cross the sand.
It is a unique survival experience. Going and exploring the various locations, meeting some of the popular characters, creating your own journey, whether it's, pairing with the Atreides, siding with Harkonnen, participating in that faction conflict that we have, or staying neutral, just focusing on surviving and thriving on Arrakis.
But after you've been playing the game for a while, you'll start to feel the effects of spice, and that will lead you to certain Fremen areas, which lead you to certain items that will make desert survival a much easier task. I really like the process of layering in story in a world. There are locations in the game that are called specific things. All of those names are tied to a piece of writing or lore that we've done in the background. It's not necessarily surface to the player in the game. But then in another part of the same area, you might find an item, and that item shares a name with a location. And the description on that item might describe what happened at that location for this item to be created. And it kind of creates this feeling that this world is lived in, that people have been here before, that there's more going on than just your story, that the world itself has a story.
For me personally, working on the project, to see the creativity that the design team has had to come up with a Dune-focused combat solution has been very insightful. We have a very unique approach to combat. It's not like anything really in any other games, where we've come up with some really neat mechanics to make ranged combat and melee combat with abilities and vehicles work in the Dune setting.
There's a lot of survival games coming out these days, and this one really brings a lot of new elements to that genre that I've never seen in there before.
Sand ones, of course, just the thrill of seeing them charge around and occasionally come up out the sand.
I think I got into it really quickly, and I think it's fairly straightforward and easy to learn.
I feel like we've only just kind of touched the surface of it, so I feel like as we get deeper into it, we'll really get to really see it.
One of my favorite things so far has actually been sitting at the porch in my house, just watching people get swallowed by the massive water.
Honestly, for the first 4 or 5 hours that we've played so far, I've had a really decent impression.
Firstly, there is Dune. Some people know the IP well, and some don't. Some have seen the movie, but never read the book. Some have read the book 72 times. And so we have a challenge. Most survival games have this ability to lean into a player's sense of intuition, where we have to kind of find these survival loops and make them work and give them proper explanation in our lore.
You've got these flying vehicles, the different progression systems, an open class system where kind of dip into all the classes. Opening cutscenes are really epic. How you end up on the planet. I think it's going to be really interesting for people.
I think just seeing how it progresses in the later stages of the game. The early stages are very survival, which is right up my alley.
The first couple of hours now, it's been great. A lot of exploring, a lot of learning. Actually, I like the night times the most, when you actually see the ships flying over, trying to find you, and you see the moon.
Just look at that big sandworm. It's been a highlight so far, I have to say. The visuals as well. It's such a beautiful game.
And the gameplay that I've experienced today, it looks really, really polished for being a beta version of the game.
When we get to meet up with other people and stuff, we get to play around. And right now, I think some of the boys are building a speed ramp to start doing some jumps with the bikes. Yeah.
Awaken.
I mean, it's always nerve-wracking when you sort of let people into the game. Pressing creators trying out the game now for the first like 6 to 8 hours of the game. What I'm hoping to see is excitement, people seeing the potential of the game, getting to understand how much we've nailed the atmosphere of the universe.
Today we expect to get a really good feedback on the early game from our content creators, give them the opportunity to play Dune Awakening for the first time and really see what excites them and excites their audiences about the game.
And sort of being able to hopefully get eaten by at least one sandworm once.
Launching a game at Funcom, you work on a product for 5+ years. Ultimately, it comes down to somebody pushing a button, launching the servers and releasing it on Steam or on Xbox or PlayStation. It's an exciting time, it's an incredibly stressful time, but there's nothing quite like seeing players experience what you've been working on for so long. It's always amazing seeing players come in, seeing how they're experiencing the game, how they're using the tools that you've created in unique ways that you could never expect, and really seeing the community interact and thrive.
There's a moment around launch. You've been working towards this vision, this project for, like 5 years. A month or two before launch, normally, you can change less and less, and then at some point you can change nothing, and that's it. That's the thing that's going out to the world. Because we know we're going to be a live game, we're going to make updates in the future, but you know that this is the first impression. There's a moment where you become a bit powerless to change things, but you also kind of go, okay, it's in their hands now. It becomes the players. And I think you have to be very careful with live games, not to evolve them beyond what the core player base really loves about them. That is kind of, I make this joke that no plan survives the first contact with the players. and it's really how it is. And then you get to find out what people really like about your game. And that's the part that I think is the most exciting.